was originally called Somebody's Gotta Do It. We changed the name to Dirty Jobs. It goes on the air.
Mike Rowe is a name that millions of people recognize as the face of hard work, grit, and humor. But behind the smiling face and witty voiceovers, there's a story filled with pain, sacrifice, and near tragedy. Long before he became a household name, Mike was just another struggling guy trying to find his place in the world. He didn't plan to become a TV star, and he surely didn't expect his show to push him to his limits, physically and emotionally. Dirty Jobs wasn't just a TV show for Mike. It was a journey that revealed the truth about America's hardest workers and the price one man paid to tell their stories. What looked like fun on camera was often a test of endurance. Every episode was filled with danger, exhaustion, and moments that made Mike question why he was doing it. But he kept going because he believed that someone needed to show what real work looked like, even if it broke him in the process. Before Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe was working small gigs, trying to make a name for himself. His life changed when he decided to do a short segment on a local show called Somebody's Gotta Do It. The idea was simple. Mike would join everyday workers doing jobs that most people wouldn't even think about. What started as a small project quickly caught people's attention. Viewers loved how Mike wasn't afraid to get dirty, to laugh at himself, and to respect the people doing these tough jobs. This simple idea grew into Dirty Jobs, which later became one of Discovery Channel's biggest hits. But success didn't come easy. Mike wasn't a pampered host reading lines from a script. He was out there, side by side with the workers, doing everything from cleaning sewers to handling animals, climbing towers and diving into tanks filled with who knows what. It was exciting, but also extremely dangerous. For every laugh and funny moment on screen, there were countless cuts, bruises, and close calls off camera. When viewers tuned in, they saw a funny guy cracking jokes while covered in mud. But what they didn't see were the serious risks that Mike faced every single day. There were times when his safety, and even his life, was on the line. He climbed hundreds of feet into the air with no guarantee of safety, crawled into dark tunnels filled with toxic air, and handled wild animals that could injure him in seconds. During one shoot, he even got shocked by electric eels while underwater. In another, a close explosion left him shaken but still standing. The show wasn't staged. Everything was real. Mike was proud of that, but the physical toll was immense. He once said that his body was covered in scars from all the dangerous tasks he had to perform. Behind the laughter was pain, and behind every successful episode was a man pushing through exhaustion just to finish another day's work. What made it more difficult was that the cameras never stopped rolling, even when things went wrong. The physical challenges were only part of Mike Rowe's struggle. The emotional side of Dirty Jobs was just as heavy. Every episode introduced him to people who spent their lives doing tough, often thankless work. He met sewer cleaners, slaughterhouse workers, miners, and farmers who worked long hours to keep the world running, but were rarely recognized for it. Mike developed a deep respect for these people, but also a growing sadness for how little society valued their contributions. He started to realize that Dirty Jobs was more than entertainment. It was a statement about dignity and labor. Yet, as he carried their stories, he also carried their pain. Many of the people he met were struggling to make ends meet or had lost loved ones to dangerous work conditions. Their stories stayed with him long after the cameras stopped. He laughed with them, but he also cried privately, knowing that the truth of their lives was harder than most could imagine. Years of doing dirty jobs began to take a serious toll on Mike Rowe's body. The long hours, heavy lifting, and exposure to extreme conditions left him exhausted and often injured. He has spoken openly about back problems, muscle strains, and even losing his voice after years of shouting over noisy machines. Once, while cleaning a water tank, his contact lenses melted to his eyes due to the chemical heat, a horrifying experience that left him temporarily blind. But even after moments like that, Mike refused to quit. He believed that quitting would dishonor the workers he admired so much. So he kept going, episode after episode, sometimes against his doctor's advice. What audiences didn't know was that between filming, he was recovering from injuries, taking painkillers, and pushing himself beyond his limits. It wasn't just a TV show anymore, it had become a personal mission. Mike Rowe had become the voice of the American worker, and he wasn't ready to let that voice fade. As Dirty Jobs gained popularity, Mike Rowe became famous almost overnight. Fans adored his sense of humor, his courage, and his down-to-earth personality. People started calling him the everyman's hero. But fame didn't make things easier. In fact, it made things harder. With every new season, there was pressure to make the show even more extreme, to find dirtier, more dangerous jobs. Discovery Channel wanted ratings, and Mike wanted to stay true to the workers he respected. That clash often left him torn. He knew that the network wanted entertainment, but he wanted truth. There were moments when he felt trapped, like the show was no longer his to control. Despite the smiles and interviews, he was mentally and emotionally exhausted. Sometimes, after filming a tough episode, he would sit alone wondering if all the pain and danger were worth it. The irony was painful. He was famous for celebrating hard work, but the very work that made him successful was slowly breaking him down. After years of high ratings and global recognition, Dirty Jobs came to an unexpected end in 2012. The network canceled it, leaving fans shocked and Mike heartbroken. For him, it wasn't just the end of a TV show. It felt like losing a part of himself. He had spent years dedicating his time, body, and soul to telling the stories of workers who were often ignored. When the show ended, Mike didn't know what to do next. The silence that followed was painful. He missed the people, the laughter, even the challenges. He had built his entire identity around Dirty Jobs, and suddenly, it was gone. During interviews, he admitted feeling lost. He said that he wasn't ready to let go of the mission behind the show, to remind people that every job, no matter how dirty or difficult, has value. This moment of loss marked one of the darkest chapters in his life, as he faced the reality that his passion might never return to the screen. But Mike Rowe is not the kind of person who gives up easily. Even after Dirty Jobs ended, he continued to advocate for workers through new projects. He launched the Mike Rowe Works Foundation, which helps people learn skilled trades and find jobs in industries that are often overlooked. This foundation became his way of keeping the spirit of Dirty Jobs alive. Later, the show made a comeback with new episodes, and fans were thrilled to see Mike back in action. But things were different this time. His body wasn't the same, and neither was his energy. Years of wear and tear had taken their toll. Still, he smiled through the pain, determined to continue spreading his message. He knew that the next generation needed to see that success doesn't come from comfort. It comes from courage, effort, and a willingness to get your hands dirty. His comeback wasn't just a return to TV, it was proof of resilience, dedication, and the power of purpose. Mike Rowe's story is more than just the story of a TV host. It's about the price of dedication and the value of showing the truth. Through Dirty Jobs, he reminded millions of people that work is not something to be ashamed of. He taught that success isn't always glamorous, and heroes don't always wear suits or stand on red carpets. Sometimes they wear boots and gloves. His mission changed how people viewed labor in America. Even though he suffered injuries, exhaustion, and heartbreak, he also found meaning and gratitude. Today, Mike continues to inspire others by speaking about the dignity of work and the importance of personal responsibility. His journey shows that even when life gets tough, you can turn pain into purpose. For him, every scar tells a story, not of failure but of persistence and pride. At its heart, the story of Mike Rowe and Dirty Jobs is a story of sacrifice. It's about how one man risked his safety, health, and peace of mind to honor the unsung heroes of the working world. The heartbreaking truth is that while viewers laughed at his jokes and marveled at his courage, few realized what he went through behind the scenes. The show gave him fame but also left him with scars, both physical and emotional. Yet, through all the struggles, Mike never complained. He said that every bruise was a reminder of the people who work hard every day without recognition. That message became his legacy. Dirty Jobs wasn't just a show, it was a mirror reflecting the heart of humanity. Mike Rowe's story reminds us that real success is not measured by comfort or luxury, but by the willingness to face life's dirt with courage, humility, and purpose. When the cameras finally stopped rolling, Mike Rowe faced a strange silence. After years of chaos, noise, and constant travel, the quiet felt almost painful. He had become so used to the rhythm of dirty jobs, waking up early, meeting new people, and diving headfirst into danger, that normal life suddenly felt empty. He once said that when filming ended, he didn't know what to do with himself. The show had become more than just work. It was his identity. He missed the laughter of the crew, the smell of mud, the sound of machines, and even the exhaustion that came with every shoot. For the first time in years, he was forced to slow down and look at what all those years of physical strain had done to him. Old injuries began to ache and fatigue caught up with him. But the hardest part wasn't the pain. It was the loss of purpose. Mike had spent so long celebrating others' hard work that he forgot what it felt like to stop working himself. The months following the end of Dirty Jobs were some of the toughest in Mike Rowe's life. Publicly, he smiled and appeared on interviews, thanking fans for their support. But privately, he battled exhaustion, depression, and uncertainty. For years, his life had a clear direction. Wake up, film, tell stories, repeat. Now, there were no schedules, no challenges, and no dirt to wash off at the end of the day. He said it felt like he had lost a friend, and in many ways, he had. The show wasn't just about labor, it was about connection. Every worker he met taught him something about life, resilience, and humility. Losing that daily connection to real people left a hole in his heart. He started questioning whether fame and success were worth the physical and emotional cost. Yet, as always, Mike refused to let pain win. Instead of retreating into comfort, he began thinking about how he could continue his mission in a different way, one that didn't require destroying his body. In time, Mike realized that his purpose wasn't tied only to the show, it was tied to the message. Dirty Jobs had shined a light on America's forgotten workers, and Mike knew their stories couldn't end when the cameras did. So he created the Mike Rowe Works Foundation. This organization was built to help people find skilled trade jobs, plumbers, welders, electricians, mechanics, and others whose work keeps society running. He wanted to change the idea that only college degrees lead to success. For years, he had seen young people avoiding hands-on jobs, believing they were less important. Mike wanted to prove them wrong. His foundation offered scholarships, training programs, and encouragement for anyone willing to get their hands dirty. This was his new Dirty Jobs, but instead of showing hard work on screen, he was helping real people find it in life. It gave him a renewed sense of meaning and reminded him that his legacy wasn't about fame. It was about lifting others up. One of the most powerful things about Mike Rowe is how deeply he respects the people he met through Dirty Jobs. He often said that the show was never about him. It was about them. He learned more from everyday workers than from any celebrity or executive. These people, often overlooked and underpaid, taught him what true success means. It's not about money or fame. It's about doing something well, taking pride in it, and knowing your work matters. Mike saw kindness, humor, and wisdom in people covered in grease or mud. They taught him to appreciate small victories and simple joys. Many of them worked in dangerous or uncomfortable conditions, yet they smiled through it all. Their strength inspired him to face his own pain with gratitude. Even though the work broke his body, it healed something deeper in his spirit. He realized that hard work, when done with purpose, is one of life's purest forms of happiness. Pain has a way of teaching lessons that success cannot, and Mike Rowe understood that.